Hi everyone, this is Angie Wong and I'm president of Legacy Pack. I just want to thank all of our followers. We're close to 100,000 followers on Facebook and we've only been around for a few short months. So thank you again. I'm going to ask you for your continued support leading up to 2024. Please donate to legacy-pac.org. That's legacy-pac.org. Thank you, and we'll see you on the campaign trail.
Hi, this is Stan Fitzgerald with Veterans for Trump, and I'm here with Mike Edwards, who is a veteran and is working some charitable efforts as well as a rescue organization that still is helping our Afghan allies. How are you today, Mike?
Good. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we appreciate what your work you're doing, and we want to shine a spotlight on you, on your good work. So, Mike, can you tell our viewers a little bit about your background, including your military background?
Yeah, so I joined up in the Army originally in 1996, was in the regular Army for a couple years. After that, ended up, after 9/11 happened, I was really wanting to get out of the military. I didn't really like it that much. But then I was like, well, we got a war going on. I need to stay and fight for my country because that's the whole reason I joined. So I re-enlisted to go to the 75th Ranger Regiment. Spent about 18 years of my career there, serving within the Ranger Regiment for a total of 22 years. I left the Ranger Regiment for a little bit at the end of my career to work out at the military free fall school, which I was working as a ranger out there. Taught military skydiving and all that kind of stuff. Did 18 combat deployments total with the Ranger Regiment in Afghanistan, Iraq, and various other locations. Have vast special operations experience now. I train and advise the most elite special operations guys around the world, and then help rescue children and Afghans and stuff like that as much as I possibly can.
No, with that kind of resume, you should be running for Congress. But let's talk about Project Exodus. Can you tell us what that is?
Yep, that is the nonprofit or volunteer group. I like to say volunteer because we all volunteer. There's not a single penny of it that goes to even pay for really any of our infrastructure. But a group that I created at the fall of Afghanistan. We've got a bunch of retired special operations guys like me, some other civilians that help us out as well, investigative backgrounds and things like that. Well, we came all together to share intelligence and try to help advocate for our Afghan allies. And these are like the most elite special operations Afghans that we trained over the years. We're still trying to advocate for them, to our U.S. government, to all the different politicians, trying to fundraise. And it's been a struggle, but we've gotten some people out, but still have a lot of good guys left in that country we need to evacuate.
Tell us a little more about the rescues you've made, because people do want to hear about these stories.
Well, we've gotten there was a bunch of Christians we got out of Afghanistan over to Pakistan, worked with another organization for a long period of time, slowly getting these guys visas, getting them out to Brazil. Most of those people are safe in Brazil now. For our Afghan special operations guys, these guys have been running the infrastructure on the ground. Really, none of them have gotten out. And these are the guys that if anybody we should have gotten out of Afghanistan, these should have been the first ones to go. But they're still there. The only good thing about them still being there is they run all of our infrastructure. They're covert operatives, so they can do anything we need. They're passing intelligence to our government for us, through us. They're also running food around and feeding all these other starving Afghans. They're running our safe houses for us and pretty much all of our infrastructure. So if it wasn't for these guys still working to support their own country and passing intel back to our own government, we'd be stuck in the mud with no way to get out.
You're keeping up the good fight, and we certainly appreciate that. You're also involved in a company called Kingsman. Can you tell us what you have going on there?
Yeah, the company is actually a USPA nationwide security. We do security all over the place, executive protection. I'm in charge of the VIP security with that. But 50% of the proceeds from all of the business that we do with USPA goes to the Kingman, which is the nonprofit that is owned by USPA. So this nonprofit spends all of that money on recovering missing children, trafficked children, runaways, you name it, battered women. We work to help them out or to recover them when they go missing.
Recently, you had a success story in, I believe it was Massachusetts. Can you tell us a little
Yes,
bit
sir.
about that?
Yeah, there was a girl named Ashlyn Gill that had gone missing. She'd been missing for about a month. The police department and all the different agencies in that area were looking and basically had given up. They couldn't find her. We found out about it. We put our team on it, and within 72 hours had her recovered and back into the custody of the police department. So that was a big success story for us. We had guys on the ground physically conducting surveillance. Then we used all of our tech gear and everything that we have to figure this stuff out, and a lot of social media and stuff like that. But we were able to find out where she was at and get her recovered.
Amazing and great work, brother. Thank you. If people want to help support your work, where can they go?
If they want to help for the Afghanistan stuff, they can go to blog.proexodusrelief.com. And then if people want to contribute to the Kingsman, they can look us up too at USPA Security, USPA Nationwide Security. They can go on our website, and there's a link to the Kingsman at the bottom. But for Afghanistan help, it's blog.proexodusrelief.com. That's our website. There's a link on there where people can donate. We have a food program where people can individually sponsor a family. I think it's like $135, and that feeds an entire family of 5 for an entire month. So if they want to go check us out, feel free to do it.
Mike Edwards, thank you for your service. And like most of us that are veterans or worked in law enforcement, we never really walk away. So thank you for what you're doing, and we will be following your work. You have a great day, brother.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me on.
Bye-bye now.
The perfect guy. Said, but on one condition will I ask him, if the mayor will allow me to introduce him. And they said good to go. So I sent an email to Mike and to his lovely wife Kendall, and first email back, checked up, said, yeah, Brian, I'll do it. And I wanted to introduce him because I wanted to tell the story of how we first met. And this will take me just a couple of minutes. Back in around spring or summer of 2019, this blonde lady comes to my office. I go out and meet her, come in, we do our initial meet and greet. Says, hey, my husband's retiring from the service and we'd like to do a VA claim. Can you talk to me about it? And I said, yes, ma'am. Well, she broke out her phone. First thing she said was, can I record you? And I knew I needed to get her in check real quick. And I said, no, you cannot record me. I said, I've got a checklist. You won't have to write anything down. I said, you'll walk out with everything that you need. So we started talking. Ask her some questions. She had a binder there. I think she had a couple other binders with her. And I said, hey, does your husband have any combat awards, any awards for valor, things like that? And all she said was, yeah, he's got a few. So we continued to talk, and I gave her the checklist, and she left. Well, some weeks later, they came back in, and we started getting into stuff, started putting them in the computer. Said, hey, I need to see your DD-214. And when I looked at the DD-214, I was awed by it. It was the most impressive military service that I've seen in my 8 years of being in that office, bluntly put. And you don't measure a person by what they wear on their chest with their awards, medals, and ribbons. Gives you an idea of what they've done in the service, but it's what's in the heart that really, really matters. So it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, and 18 combat deployments. My wife and I have been through 3. I can only imagine how 18 would feel. But to Kendall, to Anna Lee, and to Caden, who is not here, thank you so much for your service. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce a lion among men, Mike Edwards.
I appreciate y'all having me up here. I'm super humbled by it, and I appreciate those super kind words, Mr. Brian Foshee. Today is a very special day for me because I get to speak in front of the people who know me the best, my neighbors and fellow veterans. I'd like to start by thanking Mr. Brian Foshee and Mayor Johnson for having me. I appreciate that, for extending this opportunity, and thanks to the city of Andalusia for supporting our veteran community. Also, thanks to my beautiful wife, Kendall, and my beautiful daughter, Anna Lee, for all the support through all the continuous deployments and all the trips that I've traveled around the country, keeping our most elite warfighters trained to the highest of standards. I'd like to share with you guys what it means to me to be a veteran. Being a veteran means at some point in your life, you've pushed yourself to new limits. you were willing to write a blank check to the United States of America for up to and including your life. According to the VA, only 7% of Americans are veterans. Of that demographic, less than 20% have served in combat. This is a very elite group, so thank you all for your service. Veterans have big hearts and want to give back to their communities. Some become teachers and mentor our children, like Mr. Barry Wood. Some help our veterans transition out of the military, like Mr. Brian Foshee. Some become public servants, like our Representative Barry Moore, who I like to say is not necessarily a politician, but a true public servant. And I say that because I've actually spent time with the guy, and he's a genuine good man. Some continue to serve the military, keeping our war fighters in the fight, and others serve their community in other various ways. Looking back in history, more than 291,500 Marines, soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Coast Guardmen gave the ultimate sacrifice during World War II. Another 33,000 during the Korean War. Vietnam claimed yet another 53,200 lives, followed by 7,000 service members and 8,000 contractors, and the most recent conflict, the global war on terror. I thank God for the advances in technology like body armor and ISR drones, or our death toll in the most recent war would have been much higher. We need to remember our veterans, because each of them who died, for each one that died, there are millions who survived and have to live with the sacrifices their brothers in arms have made on their behalf. I served in the 75th Ranger Regiment, and within that, the Regimental Reconnaissance Company. As of December 17th, 2020, Rangers had conducted continuous direct action operations in support of the global war on terror for 7,000 straight days. They accomplished this by rotating 3 battalions over and over again on back-to-back deployments. Like Mr. Foshee said, 18, but ours was only 4 months long, so it's a little different. During that time, I deployed 18 times to combat and was involved in some of the fiercest gunfights in U.S. history. I say this to emphasize the importance of the military spouse and recognize the women who made our tough careers possible. So thank you, ladies. If it were not for the great women backing the warfighters, we could have never been so successful. With all the stress and the fast pace of a military career, we could never focus on the task at hand without significant support mechanism behind us. Again, thank you, ladies. Can we get a big round of applause for the ladies? Thank you so much, ladies, for what you've done backing us. We as Americans have always aimed to be the best, to set the standards for others to follow. We're the keepers of peace and the defenders of freedom. We stand in the face of danger for those who need our assistance, and we have never abandoned our comrades in arms until now. With the withdrawal from Afghanistan, veterans have again stepped up to fill the void left by our government, abandoning over 10,000 American citizens and our most loyal allies. I'm not going to sugarcoat things and act like things are all great here in this great nation. Our freedom is under attack from within. Even though the situation in our country may look bleak at the moment, I can promise you our sacrifice in this country has not been in vain. We will continue to defend our country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I emphasize domestic. No matter what you hear in the news, our military is not filled with white supremacists. It's filled with great men and women who still want to stay the fight against our enemies and our adversaries globally. I can assure you, even as an old broken down retiree like me, I will do everything in my power to fight tyranny that is creeping into every aspect of our lives. So be assured the veterans in this community have not given up. And we will never give in to the political agendas being pushed to undermine our sovereignty. I want to end by echoing a few sentiments of our founding fathers, some of which may be long forgotten. John Adams said, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate for the government of any other." Think about that for a moment. What does that mean? It means our country must consist of morally straight and honorable, God-loving people, or it's obsolete. Thomas Jefferson said, and I quote, "What country can preserve its liberties if its rulers are not warned from time to time, and their people preserve the spirit of resistance? Let them take arms." I want to say thank you again. It was an honor, and I appreciate your time.